I see her. You were by far the fastest so far to enter the live, so
Okay. Do
congratulations.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Do you hear me? Yeah? Okay, right.
Okay, let me just adjust a bit the camera because the setup behind me is really crazy, like a mug holding the telephone. Okay, how are you, Anne?
Fine. You?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. I'm actually really happy to see you because it's the first time that, like we've been interacting for a while, but this is the
Yeah,
first time.
a lot by chat, and it's nice
Yeah, exactly.
to can talk a little bit like this.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a short introduction so that I
Okay.
remind everybody what this is and how it works, and then we just proceed with this interview, with this chat. Okay, so this is Emanuele Del Rosso. I'm a social media manager for the Cartoon Movement, and this is Satire Talks Live, episode 4, I believe. It's a format in which we bring cartoonists live on the channel of the Cartoon Movement to talk about satire, so that's quite self-evident. And this time we have here Anne, which in a while, in a minute, is going to introduce yourself. I just want to say, if you have questions, there is a button at the bottom. You can click it and write the question, and I will see. Because if you put it in the chat, I will not see the question, or I just have to scroll up, and that's weird. So, Anne, do you want to introduce yourself? I think you can do that better than I could do that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Anne. I also sign my cartoon as Eden, and I'm a French cartoonist and illustrator, and living in Spain. I've been living in Madrid for 11 years now,
Okay.
so I'm a bit Spanish also.
Quite, yeah. I also in the accent,
Uh,
I can feel it. I can hear it a bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it can have an impact in my accent. And it's always hard to put a starting cartoonist because we all because we all begin doing cartoons as a side job because it's really complicated to make a living on it. So, but I can say I joined cartoon movement in 2012, and maybe it can be the starting date of my career as a cartoonist. But in that period, I was working full-time job, like 40 hours a week. So yeah, trying to do cartoons on weekends, evening, and whenever. And I've been
Of course.
working as full-time illustrator and cartoonist for 3 years now.
Okay. Can I ask you, because I read that somebody cannot hear you. Guys, can you hear Anne? Can you hear her fine? Because I also cannot hear you really well. Do you, like, is your connection stable?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it can be because of the headset or
Maybe, but
let's see.
you can, yeah, they tell me that they cannot hear you really well. It is difficult to hear. Can you take out the headphones and try without?
Yeah, uh, not sure. Yeah, let's try. Better?
For me, it's better. Let's
Yeah.
let's see if the guys say that's better for them.
Let me
There's a
know
bit of
if
there's a bit of
yeah.
disturbance, but at least it's a tiny bit better because before the voice was really, really low.
Okay.
Guys, give me a
So
sign. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see if somebody. Okay,
okay.
thank you, Gatis. Okay, so yeah, okay, so you were saying, can you repeat just the last part of the things you were saying?
Yeah, that I was working as a full-time cartoonist and illustrator for 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
before that, I had another job, like working 40 hours a week. So it was doing cartoons on weekend and
Yeah.
evening, and so sometimes a bit irregular.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm doing at the moment, actually.
Yeah,
Because of
and
course also,
most of us, because right now the situation for cartoonists is really complicated, like really hard to make, to get some paid jobs. So
yeah, exactly. But so I have a nice anecdote because some days ago, Thierde, the director of the cartoon movement, was at my place and we were just having some drinks. And basically, I applied to the cartoon movement some years ago. So we were talking about my first cartoons and his first cartoons. And he actually had this email from 2014 because I applied 3 times before being accepted. And
good.
my first cartoon, yeah, but then he showed us, me and my partner, my first cartoon, and it was horrendous. So I just wanted to ask you, like, do you remember like how it was, like how were your first cartoons, and I don't know what was the sensation also when you were first published in a magazine?
Oof. Uh, I don't know. Yeah, the style was really different, and I think the first cartoon I sold was to Cartoon Movement in 2012,
Hmm.
like 1 month after I get in, and it was a website, and I don't really remember the feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, yeah, I started with paper, and like when I sent the cartoons to the cartoon movement, they were just like horrendous. And I remember that I was really getting offended by some people that were criticizing my cartoons, but actually looking at them now, like 4 years from now, they were really like just not a thing that I would have published anywhere anyway. So I mean, one of course um, improves with exercise. And yeah, you're right. I mean, the the situation with the cartoonists is that many of them need to have day jobs, and then during the weekend you produce your cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, it's for all press in general, for journalists, and situation is complicated right now.
Mm. What would you do if you do you think there is a solution to that? Like, do you think there's something that could be done?
I
I know it's a difficult question, but I mean, we need to
It's a
try and
difficult question, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, because people just get used to have free images everywhere. And
Hmm.
I see people saying, I'm using this image. I say, yeah, but do you have the permission to do this? Yeah, I took it in on Google. And
Yeah, of course.
it's hard to educate people. I say, it's on Google.
Yeah,
Like, what is on Google is not free.
of course.
You can't just take images from the internet and use them. So it's it's complicated question. And I think now that everybody think things are free, like it's
Yeah,
even more complicated than
of
before.
course. Okay, there is a question which I posted there. I don't know if you see it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to answer?
So have you ever get any threat from your published cartoons so far? No, I never. I mean, sometimes you have some comments a bit aggressive, but I've never been threatened. So, no, yeah.
I think that it's actually a really good question because the whole topic of security of cartoonists and so on, of course, keeps recurring, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think we have also to feel lucky to live in democratic countries where we're quite free to express what we want.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I asked you, like I asked our previous participants, to select some cartoons because I think it's interesting not to see my face, but to see the cartoons instead.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna flip the screen and I'm gonna go on to the first one. So the topic we picked, it's I mean I wanna say obviously the one that's in the news now, but it's also like it was about time that something like that needed to be discussed, you know. So I think I'm also really happy to be able to talk about it. So you picked one cartoon from Thierde, which I'm gonna
Yeah.
show now, and it's gonna be the first one, and maybe you can comment on it and tell me why you like this one particularly, and what do you think? What is the strong message? Okay, So this is the cartoon.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to pick a cartoon about like seeing the protest from a higher level. Like we've seen a lot of cartoons about the protest, and I like this one because I was just listening to a podcast talking about the racism which is deep in the society in United States due to the history, the slavery history. So that's kind of those protests are a way to see through a magnifying glass a deeper problem, like the death of George was a way to reveal something much deeper. So that's why I chose this cartoon that was expressing this quite clearly in an interesting way.
You said that the role of the protests is to be like a magnifier over the fabric of the society, so they spot. Well, in this case, it's the KKK, but it can be basically anything else. But what do you think instead is the role of cartoons? To which object would you compare a cartoon instead?
Pardon, what was your last sentence?
To which object? So if the protest is a magnifier, what do you think a cartoon is? What the cartoon does? What's the importance of it?
I think I was feeling like right now we're kind of observing what's going on and going hand by hand with what's going on. Just sorry, my English is
no, fine. Your English is perfect.
For my words, and we saw a lot of cartoons like just giving support to the protest, and I picked this specific cartoon because it was trying to see the problem from a higher spot, like just saying, analyzing something deeper.
So that you would say that the role of cartoons is a commentary on the situation, so it gives different angles over a specific situation.
Yes, in this case, it's trying to get a wider, a higher point of view.
But do you think there's actually a question from me? So I'm gonna also flip. So do you think this is my question instead? Do you think would you bring a cartoon into a protest? Do you think it would work?
Yes, depends of the cartoon, but yes, because it's really visual, so it can really help to give a message.
But it's not done that often, right?
No,
so it feels...
you can see some of them, but.
And what do you think? What do you think then would be? So coming back instead to the BLM, so the Black Lives Matter. What do you think is the biggest challenge now? Because I mean, like it can also extend the cartoons, of course, but like, what do you think is the biggest challenge that to the continuation of this process? And maybe the cartoons can help as well, of course. But like, what's your opinion about it?
You mean for us as cartoonists, or?
Yeah. Also a cartoonist. I mean, what you think?
I think it's a good opportunity for all of us to think about this problem and see how we can in our own life. I mean, maybe just also talk to people. I just a parallel with Me Too. When Me Too arrived, sometimes. This was the opportunity to talk with guys and say, but no, this is what so many women are suffering this. And right now I see a lot of comments of people saying, oh, I was asking my black friend, but did you leave some racist things? And they say, and like creating dialogue and try to understand how deep the problem is, I mean, in all our societies. So, and as cartoonists, I think also there's a lot we can try to think about how, I mean, we tend in cartoons to always use a white man as our main character. So also to think about, should I also myself draw more black people or Chinese or other kind of people in my drawings? Because it's like when we talk about a neutral person, we always tend to draw a white man.
Yeah.
So maybe in Spain there are really few black people. It's not the place to do it, but in United States where you have so many black people, you say, when you talk about a neutral person, it will always be a white man. So
yeah,
it's just thinking about who can I draw in my cartoons, and that's important
really
because when you see cartoons in cartoon movement, you see always a lot of white person being represented. So
yeah,
actually, we as cartoonists can think also about this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting point. You actually jumped to the last part of the talk, which is fine. We can do that now, and then we come back. Because it's something you said when we were arranging this conversation, and you told me about this thing. You know, like you use stereotypical images in the cartoons because that's how it goes. So you need to simplify and have like archetype of an image, because otherwise people would not understand, and it would be less effective. But of course, culturally, the stereotype in the image would be white men. For us, at least, I found myself actually in this situation yesterday. I was drawing a cartoon, and the cartoon was representative of many things, but actually, I just started with a white man, and the first problem I had was, should I actually not go for a white man? But then my question for you would be, if I don't go for the white man, then I am charging the cartoon with other meanings. So then,
yes.
right? So then the tricky part is that, you know, and then I try to do the skin blue. I'm like, maybe I'm just not doing it white. I'm just doing it in another color. But then I do it in another color, and it looks like an alien. And then people would think, you know, so that's just really difficult to.
It has to be done in a very, very smart way. I only know one cartoonist who's doing that, and it's working. It's called Eneco. It's from Spain.
Okay.
And sometimes to talk about general topics, he uses a black woman. And I don't really remember. I should have watched one of his cartoons. And you understand that he's talking about general topics in a really smart way, using minority. So I think it's the only cartoonist I know who's able to do this in a really smart way. And I'm impressed because as a woman, sometimes I say, "Oh, I want to draw a woman here because if I draw a woman, maybe my cartoon won't be understood."
That's a big challenge, right?
Yeah, it's a big challenge. So when you have to represent different people, a group of people, it's easier. You just try to different kind of people. But when you only have to represent one person or two, it's a challenge for us, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, then I'm gonna get back to your cartoon that you selected instead, because in any case, it's still about like in a way the same topic. So it's this one, which I liked really much, and I also told you directly when you published it. I think it's really really punchy. And do you want to explain a bit?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. So yeah, maybe I will talk a bit about the process, because
of course
I really wanted to draw about what was going on, and because I'm really busy right now with the kids and really few time, I have really few times, I was going quite late because a lot of cartoons were already done. So when you arrive late, it's like you don't really know what to draw. Everything is already done. So
That's fine.
And so I spent 2 days like just having this in the head.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it happens to a lot of cartoonists. You just you're eating and you're thinking about it and doing a lot of things. And
Of course.
yeah, I don't know really why this image came to me. And maybe, yeah, what I feel interesting with this cartoon is that maybe it can have different interpretation. I'm not sure that it's the kind of cartoon you can show to people and try to create debate or make talk about it. But yeah, the message was that as citizens we are part of democracy, and when the justice in the country is not really working, very well, the protest is a way to
to sustain.
Help to sustain, exactly. Good word. Thank you for the.
Yeah, it's a really powerful cartoon. I just wonder, but this is, if you want, like a question more on the choices that I would have made. Why is there no really white hand?
Yeah, I was wondering if I had to put or not. Well, I could have put. I don't know. For me, it was to put black people as main protagonists, even if there's a lot of whites supporting this. But because we're trying to bring justice to them, so it's for them.
Of course. Okay, let's pass to the next one, which is also by you. So that we said you selected 3, so this is the last one. And I mean, it's interesting because then it moves also the conversation on another topic, which is connected, but not entirely the same. So it's more like also how this division affects kids as well. I mean, I'm guessing this topic is also really dear to you because you also have kids. So that's also something that makes you also, more interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to put like every kid like equality, the equality symbol, but using don't know the word.
The scale, the scale, yeah.
Yeah. Just because it's more cartoon talking about solution, and because most of the thing begins with education, so that in schools we need diverse and diversity in school and inclusive school. So.
And do you, because I think that's also another interesting thing, I'm gonna just flip it back again because also holding the phone is not the most comfortable thing. I think it's also interesting the topic of kids and what cartoons can teach to kids as well, and also maybe teaching kids on how to use cartoons. So I know that, for example, Thierd is also doing that in the Netherlands. Do you think what is your opinion about it? Like, how do you think cartoons can be also important for people that are not adults?
It's really, really important. I had the opportunity to work with kids or teenagers with cartoon, and it's really a good way to create, for teenagers, to create dialogue and to make them think about topics. And for children, I think it's really important to teach image analysis, how to understand image, because we're now living in an image society with a lot of images, and we've seen that a lot of cartoons sometimes are not well understood, and because of this, there's kind of a crazy reaction on social media. So it's really important for kids to learn to interpret image, and it's really good to make them think about big topics. Yeah.
So you present teenagers and kids with your cartoons, and how do they interact with them? Like, what's their opinion?
For it's different with teenagers than with kids. For kids, it's more you present an image and you try to see if they understand the image. So you usually pick really easy image to understand, but it's quite funny because sometimes they give another interpretation and yeah. So and then it makes them think. Also, I mean, I think when I did that, it was the refugee topic, and yeah, it's interesting to make kids feel like those kids who are living wars and coming to Europe, that they could be like them, and then make them draw, because through drawing they are thinking, like see, yeah, it's a way of thinking. And with teenagers, is more, yeah, creating debate and reflection about topics also. Sometimes there's more debate between teenagers, like it's a good opportunity to make them talk and think about topics. And also, when you can make them draw, it's a way to think in a visual way. So yeah, I wish it was done more. In France, they do it quite a lot. I think in Spain, it's not. It's not really usual to do.
Yeah, in Italy, one thing that I was doing when I was studying in Italy as a teenager, we were reading newspapers. So you have, like, those hours in school in which you just take a newspaper, you read it. But the funny thing is that, well, now thinking back, there were a lot of cartoons, actually probably in newspapers more than now, because in Italy during like the early 2000s, there was quite some space on the cartoons. It was also before the crisis, but we never actually used the cartoon to talk about a specific topic, which is quite silly, because it actually is easier to do that through a cartoon than actually read a super long editorial, which of course is important, but as a teenager, maybe you also, you're also more attracted to that.
Yeah, and an editorial, it's like you read and it's saying something, while a cartoon, you can have different interpretation, and I think it makes students talk, because they try to understand it, they think, someone understands something, someone other things, and then it's quite easy to make teenagers talk to cartoons and think. In France, we were using, there's more cartoon culture in France, I think. So I remember at college, we were using cartoons to talk about topics quite a lot. Not so much, but a little bit at least.
Yeah, I was reading an editorial by Thierry Vissot today, that there was about the different attitude in between France and other countries in also protecting the cartoonists, because of course you've got like all those things that happen in which a country gets offended and then they try to make the cartoon be fired or things like this. So yeah, France, I mean, for what I'm hearing, France has a great tradition on that, and it's a pity that other countries instead. I think it goes next to also freedom of the press as well, so then you still have freedom of expression, which in some countries instead is difficult. So editorial cartoons are also difficult. But I wanted to ask you something else, and that's actually my last question. And it's also a bit of a curiosity of mine, because I was talking about it. I was talking about your style with my partner yesterday, and I was telling her that what I like about your style is that it is really different from other cartoonist styles, because it's really delicate. You have an approach to topics that I really don't find that often. So what we just saw that in the cartoons we showed, it's not violent, it's not like strong or aggressive, but it's really effective, even if it's not really you say aggressive, as a word. What do you think about it?
Pardon? What was the question?
The question is just
What
like,
was it?
is it true? Is it not? Did you work for achieving that style? What do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I was not looking for this specific style. The truth is that as I'm also doing illustration for children, I think this has an impact. I mean, on my drawing. Sometimes I want to be a really aggressive character, and it's hard for me to do that. It's going with the style I have. It's not on purpose, because sometimes I would like to do more aggressive characters, because it helps to the message. So, but yeah, it was told to me, and I think it's even in France, it's there's a harsh culture of harsh cartoons. So I did an exhibition in France, and one girl told me, oh, when I get into the room, I said, hey, what is that? It's not cartoon, it was too colorful, too delicate, and she had a prejudice like,
oh, really?
It will be too nice, because infants, they like harsh cartoon, and finally she said, I was surprised because I liked it, and it was there was a kind of strong message to colorful and more delicate cartoons.
Yeah, I think you also maybe have a different approach on the topic as well. So you take the same topic, but instead of thinking immediately like many other cartoonists would, you just find that angle that makes it more interesting, because in the end, cartoons don't have to be, I think, always making you feel really bad, which, for example, my cartoons do. I mean, because I just like, it comes for me more natural to be like negative on many topics, but it's also nice to have like the positive side, or in general like a positive approach to a problem instead. So that's really interesting for me.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of, I'm not so positive about what I'm reading, but sometimes it's kind of a therapy. Like I'm not positive about this. It's bad news, but I try to give a positive message, because it also helps myself with the news I'm hearing. So.
And there is a question, just a second. Yeah, so this question is about cartooning in Italy, because there are many great cartoonists with a great style. It is true, and I think this is more an overall answer. I'm gonna give it, because then if you want to add something and give me some names of Italian cartoonists you like, I'm just saying yes, that's true. I know many, and I hope they're gonna come to the Satire Talks live. Of course, we have this, we need to speak English, and so of course, like then, because some people don't like me or like Anne travel around and live abroad, it's still something that it comes maybe not natural or difficult for some. But of course, there are many. So Anne, do you want to like tell me who's your favorite Italian cartoonist? I am an Italian cartoonist, huh? So.
How you? No, I will. I really like. I think I really like. Sometimes we like what we are not able to do. So I really like the style of Marilena Nardi, because she all doing expressive, and it's not digital. And so I really like a style. But I mean, there's a lot, so many, because some of them there's a lot of dialogue, and I try to understand. Sometimes I understand, and when I get it, it's great. So, but you've got a lot of great cartoonists in Italy.
I think if I can say, one of the favorites of mine is Marco De Angelis.
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, sure.
And also, I think Marco De Angelis might participate to the talks here. So I talked to him, and I think it can happen during the next episode. So that's really great. And yeah, the guy also Marco draws on watercolor,
Yeah, it's
and
really
he's
nice and
yeah, and
good
he's
idea.
really yeah. Uh, okay, so more comments. So Alessandro Gatto, Achille Superbi. Yeah, and me, of course. I'm reading the comment in the chat. So yeah, okay. So more names. Alessandro Gatto. I will check it out. I have to say that I don't know him. And Achille Superbi. Okay. So for everybody, those are other two names that you might want to check out. Okay. So if there are no other questions and you don't want to add anything, Anna, about where people can find you, I think it's evident that you have an Instagram account, so it's going to be posted next to the recording of the live. The live is going to be in the IGTV channel of the Cartoon Movement, and probably also on YouTube and Facebook. And if you have any other question, you can just reach out directly to me, to the Cartoon Movement, or I guess also to Anne, which will be happy to answer your questions.
Yep.
So apart
thanks
from
a
that,
lot for this initiative.
thank you, Anne. I'm really happy that I managed finally to talk to you. And I'm hoping that I will meet you soon. You know, like, and we are in Amsterdam. The moment we can move, you're always welcome to the Cartoon Movement, and we can just draw together.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, thanks a lot again. Thank you, guys. I hope it was interesting for everybody. For me, it was. And I'll talk to you in 2 weeks, and to you, Anne, hopefully soon.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Goodbye.